Hello and good morning. Welcome to session 2 of the Growth Club on day 2. How many times can I say the number 2? I've just said it again. I hope you've enjoyed our opening keynote with Jared. We're now kicking into our next 10 a.m. session. So 2 streams. This stream today, we are joined by Vipul Sheth, and we are talking about how to get outsourcing right. Best practices for offshoring, podsourcing, and beyond. Before I get into that, I will just go through a few things on the Growth Club Summit. If this is your first session of the 2 days, welcome. We're so glad you're here. If you've been through this already, then you know the drill. We're talking about all fun things: workflow, AI, compliance, productivity, and in this case, we're talking about offshoring. A few housekeeping. So the chat is working. You can jump in the chat right now and just type in, let me know you can hear and see the screen okay. You may need to turn your volume up. All these sessions are being recorded and transcribed by the team at Vinyl. You're going to get access to transcripts and all kinds of summaries on the back of all of these sessions. There is one CPD point available for you on this session powered by the team at Accreditwise. You'll get information from us on that once the summit concludes, and we'll show you how you can keep track of that as well. Our chance to win $500 or gift cards in the amounts of $100 and up to $500 is still running for day 2. So all you need to do is, take a quick photo, take a selfie, pull out your phone right now. You can be like, hey, I'm going to take a picture of me next to my laptop, put it on LinkedIn and say I'm at the Growth Club for the firm. We are talking today about offshoring and outsourcing, and you go in the draw to win. It's very that simple. The more times you post, the more chances you have of winning. So I'm very happy to see any and all, and the ones I've seen so far have been great. So please continue on, and I look forward to seeing many more going. Huge thank you to our partners. Intuit QuickBooks, we couldn't do this without your support. Thank you for being our major partner for this event. And we're joined by many other partners as well, including the wonderful team at Advancetrack, who we're about to hear from today. I hope you have a chance to look at all of our different partners. They add so much value to the accounting industry. And I'd love for you to check them out as a thank you from me. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Vipul. Vipul, I've known for a very long time. I consider a friend of the industry. When you work with people for so long, that's how everyone feels in that sense. I'm sure you feel the same about your peers in the industry. Vipul is the managing director at Advancetrack, and today we're talking about how to get outsourcing right. He's also joined by a UK accountant named Eriona, and you're going to be introduced to her in just a moment as well. But enjoy. This is a great session for you if you're considering outsourcing, offshoring, or you're trying to understand what's the best way to approach this. Vipul brings over 20 years worth of experience in this field. So I'm very excited for him to now take over on this session. Vipul, over to you. I'm going to let you share your screen and take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Trent. And welcome everybody. And thank you for joining us today. So I'm Vipul Sheth. I'm MD and founder of Advancetrack. We started way back in 2003, where I had this mad idea that I'd leave what you might consider a safe job in a big four and start a business. Thankfully, I'm still standing, and we're changing the lives of many of the firms that we work with. So I'm delighted to be joined today by Eriona. Eriona, why don't I let you introduce yourself to the audience, and we'll then get on and talk about outsourcing, technology, and a whole lot else.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, my name's Eriona. I'm the Managing Director of Majors Accounts, which is a small family-run accountancy practice based in Southeast London in the UK. We've been going since 2006, super traditional firm when we started, and when I took over, I went through a full digital transformation of the business, which has changed the way that we work, who our team members are, where they can be, who our clients are and where they can be as well, but also giving us our life back as business owners. And I think accountants generally, they forget that they are business owners too, and we're always trying to help our clients, but we don't realize that we need to be running our business as well in a similar manner. So we've definitely got our lives back and are enjoying the way that we are working. And since doing that with my firm, I'm now helping other accountants and bookkeepers do the same thing and go through the same kind of process of leveraging technology, looking at processes, becoming more efficient, and providing a much better level service for their clients.
Thank you so much. I think that, the one thing I will say is technology is a huge enabler, and wherever it takes us, we shouldn't be scared of it. And I know some people are, particularly in our space, they're scared of it because it means they bill less hours. But I take it as a huge positive that our people are also moving up the chain as well. So this is some of the things that we're hearing from firms. And Eriona, I know you work in, you consult a lot of firms. These are the challenges that firms typically we're hearing, that they've got high operational costs, they can't scale to meet client demand, they're unable to actually offer advisory services because they're just caught in the weeds, and there's a severe lack of staff. Does that resonate with what you're hearing when you're talking to firms?
Yeah, absolutely. I think these fit into two kind of key themes. It's clients now, as they are becoming entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs that are coming to the market, they are younger. They're used to technology. They know what technology is available because they're using it in their day-to-day lives. They're probably using it in different aspects of their business. So they expect their accountants to be able to leverage some of that technology that is out there to help provide a better service to them, to help give them more insight into what's going on in their business. They're a lot more interested in the now, rather than, when we do your tax return, when you do your accounts, we'll let you know how business is done. They want to know, what can I do now to make a difference? And seeing as they know we have the technology to hand, they expect a lot more, right?
Yeah.
From their accountants. Now, accountants who don't leverage the technology cannot provide the level of service that they are requesting, because they do want to know, hey, I've had this particular deal, can I take it on or not? Now, in a traditional firm, that involved, wait a second, because I don't have all the information to hand, send me what you have, let me bring everything up to date, and then we can have a discussion. At that point, I need to see who in the team is available, what capacity do we have for them to do this extra work that wasn't planned. And then when we sit down and talk about it, it may be weeks, right? But they want to know information now. So being able to provide that service in real time, you have to leverage technology. But at the same time, you need to have enough team members, one, that know how to use the technology, two, that are available and willing to work in a different way, not just in the mindset of, okay, we've just got to do this work. It's thinking outside of the box a little bit, but marrying those two up together, not having the technology and not being able to find team members, because we know in our profession we've got less people studying, even signing up to study. And those that do make it through the studies and qualify end up jumping ship to another industry because they see what it looks like from the outside and they think, I don't want to get involved in this. So we're getting less and less options for staff and higher client demands. And that's is exactly what's causing all of these issues from what I've seen as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it was quite interesting when you said about the next generation, because I'm going back a few years, probably not long before COVID, to be fair. And I sat down with the managing partner, and he had a certain age profile. I'll just say he was nearer retirement than starting his career. And he said, "Oh, I don't need technology." And I said, "Well, okay. So why is that?" I asked him the question, and he said, "Well, I sit down with the business owner, and everything happens because I sit down with the business owner." And I said, "Well, how long before they're retiring?" Similar time to me, 3, 4, 5 years time. I said, "Okay, so what's the next generation look like?" Their children, their sons and daughters are taking over. I said, "Well, okay, when their sons and daughters talk to their friends and they say, my accountant sends me my reports and I can see it on my phone," they're going to say, "Right, I'm going to that accountant." And that was the trigger for him and his firm moving to become a purely digital business, which was a big shift for them. But it was absolutely exactly as you described, Eriona. The new generation, they live their lives on these devices. And if you as a accounting firm are unable to provide them with that information whilst they're on the go, and they are on the go constantly, it doesn't matter where they are in the world, they want to be able to run their business from their phone. And that involves financial information being sent to those devices. So 100% that's what it's about. But the other thing that's also happened in COVID, exactly as you described, Eriona, when people needed help to access government funding, or the banks needed to know they were good, they didn't want an answer in 3 months' time because you'd have probably gone out of business by then. You needed to be able to provide reports and satisfaction to the banks that they were good for the money.
It wasn't just the banks though, it was also being there for the client. And I
Yep.
say this to so many people, even existing clients, because we've reduced our client base massively since we've gone digital because we've identified who we really want to work with. And it's those that appreciate this level of service. We were all going through, I say we because we were business owners as well. We were learning things for the first time as well. But we were expected to translate that and give that information to our clients, right? They wanted to have us there as someone who's able to reassure them, to guide them of, hey, today this was announced, this is how it's going to affect you. Be available to, if they wanted to give us a call and say, what am I going to do? Almost like a therapist, right?
Yes.
For their business.
Yeah.
We were available for them. And that is the value in itself, is super valuable for these business owners. I had one potential client actually came to us, sat down before we had gone fully digital and asked what our fees were and how many clients we had. And when we told him that, he packed everything up and said, thank you very much, but I'd rather pay triple because what I value is that if I call you, you're going to be able to answer the phone call because I'm not going to call you just for fun. I'm calling you because I have an issue and I want you to help me with it to resolve whatever issue it may be for my business. So that in itself made us think, this is where the future is going to be, right? Because, and in order to be able to provide that service, a lot of technology can get rid of the mundane stuff that is not giving anyone any value, nor the client, not the team members, not us as a practice. So if we're going to be available for our clients, you have to have the technology in place to be able to provide that service.
Brilliant. Okay. I'm just going to quickly go through a little bit about who we at Advancetrack are and what our purpose is. We're there to help you, accounting firms, just make a difference to your business clients. That's really what we're about. And it's through doing these three things, providing a secure, scalable, and innovative solution. And we're a global business. We serve accounting firms around the world, Australia, North America. And whilst I'm based in the UK, we have a growing presence in all the other parts of the world. And I'm the chartered accountant. We operate across 4 offices. This is part of my team. They came together for a sports day. So this is a shot we managed to take of them. But I think the key bit in this, and Eriona, I know you've done this a lot, it's about streamlining the operations and making sure that accounting firms, in order to access talent in other parts of the world, and I'll talk to you about the challenges that all Western countries appear to be facing, and Eriona touched on it there about youngsters leaving or just not coming in, and the older generation leaving earlier as well. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But in order to access that talent in other parts of the world, streamlining and having the technology is the key to making that all work. So do you want to just talk about that? And then I'll talk about this slide in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that allowed us to work with yourselves was ensuring that we did have the right systems in place. We wouldn't have been able to offshore or give our team the opportunity to be able to work from anywhere or access talent, the best talent, wherever they may be. But it's similar with our clients as well, being able to work with them without having them come and see us. So we needed to make sure that we had all systems in place to be able to collate information. Internal processes had to be robust. Having a clear process, so a practice management solution where we are able to have a good idea of what everyone is working on at any time, wherever they may be. So having that insight as if they were in the office. If I'm honest, now we probably have better insight of what everyone is doing than we did when everyone was in the office. That's because we really looked and focused on what are our processes, what do we need to do. Let's put the systems in place to allow us to do that, to communicate with our team in turn, to communicate with our clients in a really easy way, an efficient way, but most importantly, in a safe way, because digital security, it's a massive thing when you're considering transforming your practice and making it as digital as possible. But as long as you have ticked off all of these kind of processes, it then opens up a world of opportunities. Literally, the world is your oyster. You can find the best team members wherever they may be. Geography is no longer, an issue. And with clients as well. we don't need to tell them you have to come and see us like we did before. You can be wherever you like. The information can be sent to you on your phone through different apps. Our team are available to speak to each other. I mean, one thing, when I started this process, I said I would love to set up a business that I can run on my phone. I didn't think that I would achieve it, because what I like to do is I like to set things that seem super unachievable, especially in an accounting practice, right? When we were doing this, it was not something that anyone would think is possible, but now we are there. So I am traveling all over the place, and I'm able to keep an eye on what's going on in my business. I run it from my phone. I don't even need my laptop. But all of this was making sure that those processes, systems are in place, data security is top notch, and then you're able to essentially, do whatever you like with your business.
I know, 100%. So just to follow that up, we're a regulated firm. So I happen to be a member of the ICAW, but for those down under CAA and Z, the equivalent body there. And so we're regulated. So we understand the challenges of being a regulated firm, but we go way beyond, and all the badges you see at the bottom of this screen is about security, quality, and business continuity. So we have auditors come in, assess what we're doing, and make sure we're going way beyond best practice. And that's really what this is about. And we've had these certifications. So for example, I'm throwing numbers and letters at you, so I don't mean to, but the 9001, which is around quality, and 27001, which is the basic security standards, we've had since 2013, well over a decade. So when you're looking at outsourcing, offshoring, whatever it is, have they got long-term pedigree in the space, because it's really important. But coming back to what clients really want, and this is some research that's done by Smithing. I'm sure many of you down under will have come across them. But what's really telling in this is how clients, most entrepreneurs know that they've sold 1,000 widgets or 1,000,000 widgets. So they have a rough idea of what profit they've made. What they really want the accountant to do is help them achieve whatever it is they want to in life, whether that's buying a car, sending their kids to the best school, or buying that house. Whatever that happens to be, that's what it is. So if you look there, the bit that is really telling, if you find time to have client meetings, your clients will be forever grateful. And yet we spend 80% of our life as a profession doing work that clients attribute 25% of value to. How shocking is that? But that's what we do as a general profession. So we need to think around what we do and use technology, use people like us to help you deliver compliance, because you can reduce the cost of delivering your compliance and free your local people up to do the bits that the business owner cares about. And let's look at that. Client meetings and implementation of strategy. That's what they care about. Everything else is just something they know. It keeps them out of jail. The clients that you speak to, the ones that are most grateful are the ones that you and your team have the time to talk to them about what they want to achieve.
Absolutely. So I always use the example of one client who is a restaurateur. When he came to us, he was struggling with his one restaurant. We implemented some systems with him that made it easier for us to communicate on the compliance side, so he wasn't wasting time with collating information. We could take that information ourselves. And the rest of the time we have spent speaking to each other. I probably speak to him at least once a week. Now, for one client, it seems excessive, but the reason for that is anything that he thinks of, the first person he will call is us. Since then, he's now opening his third site, and he's looking to open more. And that's been from the conversations that we've had, looking at how we can help him grow. Does he need help with finance? Can he afford finance? How should that be structured? What can he do personally? Giving him confidence in that, as long as he's got the actual day-to-day running, because that's not what we're experts in, but everything else we can take care of for him. And he did not know before that an accountant can help with that. And we would not have known what his needs are if we did not have the time to be available to speak to him. So he felt comfortable to come to us with everything that he thinks of. And our relationship the foundation of our relationship is so strong, and now he's recommending the right kind of clients who want that kind of service as well. And that is clearly what they value, because a set of accounts, they could go anywhere. Anyone could submit that for them, right? But it's what comes after that. What do the accounts mean? What can I do with these accounts? What are my options? That is where they value all of the work that we put in with them. And for us, it's been a lot more enjoyable, I have to say, because it doesn't feel like it's a transactional relationship. It feels like we are business partners with our clients without being business partners. But when they have an issue, it's not, how can we help you? It's, how shall we do this together? So it's a different way of thinking about it, but it has made our jobs so much more interesting. But we can see the effects of it from our clients, whether we like it or not. You know, it's gone from one struggling to opening his third.
Yep. No, 100%. And, just to put in context, and some of you may have heard my story before, and Eriona couched it perfectly there, that the client rings you about everything, anything major. And I am sat here today running this business, and we employ hundreds of people now. And I can do so because my parents were helped on their journey in business. I was a 9-year-old kid way back when mum started the business with dad, and she never made a major decision without ringing David, who was their accountant. And I spent a summer in David's office. I have to say, this was at the age of 17, but at 15, I announced to my parents I was going to take over their business. I was told in no uncertain terms that wasn't going to happen. So you can imagine at 15, I was a bit disappointed that didn't happen. I was even more disappointed at 17. My mum offered my services for free for an entire summer. But hey, I'm here today because of that conversation with David, because she told me that whenever I go and see David, he has his feet on the desk and phone attached to his ear, and I go, like every skeptical teenager, yeah, mum, accountants don't do that. And I went and found the envelope with all the accounts, and I gave it to my mum and said, Mum, look, this is what David does. He doesn't do anything. And she said, well, just go and then, see what he does. And after a couple of days in his office, I knocked on his door and said, David, I don't see you doing any account. And that's when he closed the door and he said, see all those people out there? So that's what I pay them to do. What I do is change lives. And if anyone's been to our website, you'll know we have a statement there saying accountants change lives, but not by producing a set of accounts. It comes from that conversation that I had as that 17-year-old kid. So all I will say is that's the reason I'm passionate, that my life is so much better today because somebody helped my parents and their journey in business. And Eriona, what you said captures that perfectly well. I couldn't find the logos of the two firms that I trained with. Well, the firm I trained with and the second one, because they've all been taken over. But then I joined EY and KPMG before I started this. And coming back to the stats, and as a business owner, I was probably about 2 years ago. Have I just been lucky? And is this luck going to run out anytime soon? So we commissioned a survey, which we call the Accounting Talent Index. And we've got the early data. The full data will be released in Brisbane, actually, at our GBX event, which is the day before Xerocon. So just to put it in context, but what we discovered from this is more experienced people leaving the profession. I think COVID made a lot of accountants who were in a good place because they were seeing people dying around them. They thought, well, I'm in a good place. Why would I stay? And I'm going to use statistics from different parts of the world. So forgive me if it's not in your territory, but the numbers are just different, but the proportions, etc., are the same, whether we use US, UK, Australian statistics, New Zealand statistics, they all look about the same. So more experience. And when the US has a problem, it becomes everybody else's problem, because when they're looking to fill a hole, it impacts. So when 420,000 accountants leave a profession in the US and 120,000 since 2023, and there's a shortage of over 500,000 in the US, when it comes to Australian accountants, New Zealand accountants, UK accountants looking for talent, they're fishing in the same waters as these guys. So it has an impact. And this is, I think, the saddest bit, that youngsters don't see it as a profession to enter. And there's a number of reasons for that. every report that comes out about which profession is going to be replaced by AI, it talks about accounting is being there. What they forget is what an accountant does. It is not just process numbers. I think we're not doing a great job as a profession on selling it to the youngsters. We should say, look, these are the amazing things that we as a profession can do. And I think that's really important. And enrollments are just, wherever you look at it, it's having an impact. And it's partly this: long hours, high stress, poor pay. And you're saying, you know what, I'd rather go and work for Google or Apple or something like that. So that's part of it as well. And that's reflected in enrollments the world over. So that's all I'll say there. US, again, a decrease of a third in just a few years. But ultimately, it's going to be accountancy firms opening their wallets and saying, look, we want you, we will pay you more. But that's not what's actually happening so far, which is leading to a bigger hole in the and more vacancies. So, but what that means is there's a higher workload for those that are left, and there's only two ways you can fill that. Technology is a huge part of that. Eriona, I'm sure you can talk about that. And then the other part is using offshore resource. So, Eriona, do you want to talk about the tech bit and
Yeah, I mean,
how you use us, for example?
absolutely. So the technology has taken on a lot of the work. I mentioned the mundane aspects of the job. So no one is sitting there copying data out of a receipt or keying in bank line entries like they did in the past, which took up probably maybe even a half of 50% of the job. So that's all gone because the technology has taken over. But as you say, there's a higher workload now with compliance and changes in law and all kinds of things. So we need more staff, even though we've reduced our client base, we've adopted technology, but there is so much work available. So working with you guys, I think one thing that has been the biggest benefit is peace of mind for me, knowing that if we need someone, if someone comes to us with a particular service which we may not be providing at present, I'm confident to say, yeah, we can help you. Because I know that there is a pool of talent ready and available to help us out. Whereas in the UK, it took me 4 months to try and find a receptionist, and I couldn't. I couldn't find anyone who was willing to work. So that has been that peace of mind in knowing that we are no longer scared or losing sleep over the fact of wondering how are we going to service these clients. Yes, the technology has been a massive help. And I don't know what we would have done, especially through things like COVID and so on. But now that we have opened ourselves up with the technology to be able to work with anyone, there is an increasing demand. And knowing that there is someone there that will be able to help us out no matter what. I mean, how many years has it been now? Maybe 4 years? Yeah. That we've been working together. We've never had a staff shortage issue, which is something that we used to have always. If someone said they were leaving, it was like, oh no, what are we going to do? Where are we going to find someone? How's that going to work? We know that's okay. It happens, but we'll be able to fill that position pretty immediately and carry on working without having any business interruption. Processes are in place, so that team member can slot right in and hit the ground running because there are clear processes that they can follow. And with people that are willing and wanting to work and are dedicated to the job.
No, brilliant. Yeah, that reminds me of I was in Australia just a couple of weeks ago, and one of the firms we're working with there, they're really pleased with the way that the team's developing for them, and they're now going way beyond compliance because, in essence, we're an accounting firm, just happen to be several thousand miles away in India in 4 locations. That's the difference. But by having that ethos, our guys are able to actually deliver way above what you would think of as an offshore resource being capable of doing. So I think that's, for me, I was really pleased to hear that. And I got an email yesterday, they want to increase again the resource that they've got with us. So it's always good there. And Eriona, I know you're working with firms, helping them sort of re-engineer their practices in a way, but you must be hearing this about the partners, the owners of the firms are doing more time than ever. I mean, these stats that are a bit scary, that nearly half of the people are doing an extra day a week. Is that what you're hearing?
Absolutely. I spoke to a firm recently, a firm of 23 people, and the two owners, two brothers, are doing and getting involved in everything, which is not something they should be doing. That's not billable. They're just losing money on a daily basis, but everyone feels like they're working more than ever and they don't see an end in sight or how to get out of it. It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah. No, 100%. So, that's what the report's saying. So at some point, if you want to get the report, visit our website, advancetrack.com/talent. You should be able to request the report. So, and that's leading to stress, and, without technology, without resource, that's not going away. And your staff will be stressed out if you're stressed out as business owners. So you just got to remember that anything that you can do to reduce your own stress will mean less stress on your people, greater retention, all of those things. But technology is there and we shouldn't be scared of it. But AI, Eriona, you must be
I love this
day
topic.
of every week. Something new is coming out in terms of AI.
Yeah, I mean, I love this topic. I think AI is going to make such a big difference. There are a lot of people scared. We always have to exercise that professional skepticism with anything that we do, because that's the nature of our job. But it's going to help us to do so much more than we're currently doing with our job, with our work and the service we provide. We're going to be able to achieve so much more. And where people say, oh no, AI is going to take our job or technology, it will for those that are not using it. As with anything, technology that has been introduced since forever, with anything that has been introduced, it's been like, no, it's going to take our jobs. We're still here since the calculator was introduced. Do you remember, like, what are accountants going to do if we use a calculator? We can do everything ourselves. The internet, like submitting tax returns for us, for example, online. Well, great, so I don't need an accountant. Accountants are still around. All we are doing is slightly changing the way that we work with clients and the service we can give them. And one thing I always talk about is we are in a privileged position and we're paid for it, to inquire and kind of tap into entrepreneurs' minds to see why they do things a certain way, what works, what doesn't, and absorb all that information and then use that information to help another client who may be going through a similar thing.
Yeah.
If we have this skill set and being able to see, how we can help clients, why are we not tapping into this and doing more of this? And this is where we can use AI and technology to get rid of some of the stuff that it can do. But this and the human relationship and thinking outside the box and applying that on a, client by client basis, this is where our real skill sets, I would say, are.
No, 100%.
And this is what we can do.
Yeah. As Liam Neeson would say, I have a certain set of skills and I'm going to use them. I probably got that wrong completely, but hopefully everyone knows what I actually meant. and as Bill Gates says, there's no upper limit to what's possible. So doesn't mean it's nirvana for everyone, but it's something that we shouldn't shy away from and make sure that we use it. But it's about how you use it and that we use it in a way that enhances the work that we do and the outcomes that then has for the business owners that we then serve.
Absolutely. I'll give an example if I can really quickly.
Yeah, please.
For our payroll department, what we're doing is we're training an AI to be able to work on all the standard static payrolls, not to get rid of team members. No, I want those team members to double check that it's all accurate and then to go a step further in helping introduce or roll out more payments as a service, being able to advise clients on this is what your current payroll is looking like. Do you know that you could save money on XYZ because you could use other systems and things like that in place? That is where we are retraining and upskilling our team to move from the standard static payroll to the advisory for them as well, because there are all elements of our business we could help our clients in advising them. So it's just using that AI to give us that capacity to be able to upskill our team to provide a better service to our client, which they will value.
100%. So look, without change, you're just going to be irrelevant is the truth. But I think most people understand that now and they don't put the fingers in their ears. So that's kind of where I'd go with that. But I think there's hope. I think technology is there and India is still producing hundreds of thousands of accountants every year. So we still think we're in a good place to help firms. And I think the other thing that's starting to happen now, professional bodies around the world, they're actually talking to one another, talking to their members, and actually now starting to understand that their purpose. And I know you sit on your professional body, Eriona. I've sat on my own professional body in the past, and I definitely see that there's now much more collaboration than there ever used to be across the different bodies. And I think that that's going to be helpful for all of us longer term. And I think the next one, the generational shift, I've got a teenage daughter, and I can't imagine her doing anything without using technology. The number of times she comes back and says, "Oh, I've done my homework." So, "Oh yeah, how did you do it?" And she's used Gemini or some other tool to help her do it. And I think that's the way people are naturally now. Their first answer is not to take out 50 textbooks and actually answer it. It's actually to see, can I do this faster? A bit like what you just described around payroll, Eriona. It's not about getting a pen and ticking everything off. It's actually using tech and then almost exception reporting rather than actually doing the actual work. And I think the other thing also, if we want to attract the best talent, we've got to understand the challenges that they have when they leave college, university, whatever it is. They come out with debts, and in order to pay them back the fastest, they're going to look who's going to pay me the best amount over my career. And if we as a profession can't do that, they're going to leave, or they're just going to not come to accounting in the first place. But we can see there, it's still having an impact, the lack of talent. But this was the one that I thought was an interesting stat, where about a third of firms are outsourcing or offshoring, but for smaller firms, it's roughly half. So, but India and the Philippines are still the most popular destinations for work to be processed. But it's still there. It's not going away. This slide, I think, tells me, and I know we're busier than ever, but it's a combination of using the likes of us, retaining more people, and putting the technology in place. I've got one firm. We probably, in Aussie dollar terms, bill over $1 million to them, but yet they have recruited and retained more of their trainees than ever. And when I say they're doing over $1 million, they were doing a quarter of that 3 years ago. So you go to show that it is having an impact when you use offshore resource. And we're not far from finishing. So, but what are the tools that they're using? Higher salaries seems to still be the biggest thing. But I think the next one, Eriona, you probably don't have this now, but probably if I go back a few years, you and many accountants that we speak to say, I'm scared of actually ringing a client up because I might come away with some work and I don't know how to service it.
Yeah.
Is that what you hear as well?
It is. We've had so many people that I speak to, even the businesses that I consult, they say, I'd love to grow and take on more people, but how am I going to service them? I can't take on any new business because I have no one to be able to do the work, and that will damage my reputation. So I'm kind of stuck in that I can do more, but I can't.
Yeah.
And they want to do more and they can't.
Yeah. And then the other side of it is when you don't deliver, the impact that then has is
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the last slide on that page. But the only way that firms are dealing with that is the partners are taking on more, and there's only so long you can do it. And yeah, I did it when I was in my 20s. I couldn't think of how I could do that level of work today where I am now, and that has an impact on partner stress and mental health. So, what's your answer? This is, Eriona, this is probably what you've done, isn't it? You've extended your firm, you streamlined your ops, your tech, and you focused on what clients care about, which is helping them.
Exactly, and everyone is happier for it. The team, the clients, us as practice owners. I actually had a meeting with one of my team members that has been with us maybe 14, 15 years now, and just talking to her about what we have in terms of plans for the future and next steps. And I said, thank you for staying this long and for believing in the crazy ideas that I had. And she broke down in tears and said, I'm so happy that I put my foot down and I stayed where other people were thinking, what's going on here? This is going to destroy the business or whatever.
Yeah.
She said, I can see everything that's come to life. and I'm enjoying my job so much more than I ever did before.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
that for me was like a stamp of approval that yes, what I did was worth it. I mean, obviously our lives has changed. You know, my dad, who was in the practice, was working for 14 years, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I was working 12, 15 hours a day. You know, that's changed massively. I only work about a day a week in the business now. I'm in the background if anyone needs me.
Yeah.
And same with my dad. He comes in because he doesn't know what else he's going to do. You know? So just from that to where we are now, and the business is carrying on, and our clients are super happy, and our team are so much happier with the level of work that we're doing, and financially we're doing great as well. So it has been a massive transition for the better, but
Yeah.
we're also future proofing ourselves for what's to come with the changes in our industry, and making sure that we are at the forefront of being able to help those businesses and keep going ourselves.
Brilliant. I'm just coming to the end now. Obviously, people have heard of different terms in terms of outsourcing, offshoring, etc. So I'm just going to quickly run through the 3 different models that we use. Sourcing, that's where you have a standardized process and repetitive work, for want of a better description. So in Australian terms, I would say the SMSF returns. They're the types of work where outsourcing works well because it's repetitive, and you can apply it through a whole group of your clients. So I think that's where that works well, but you do need to have that repetitive nature and standardized process. And I know it's the sort of thing that Eriona does in her own firm, and she's helping other firms do that as well through her Vault business. Offshoring, I'm sure lots of us have heard this term. Typically, it's where you have an individual that's assigned to you or your firm, and that's what they do. They just work for your firm. The challenge that always happens with offshoring, and Eriona, you touched on it when staff left your own practice years ago. It's like, oh my God, what happens? This person's left, etc. It is a challenge in the offshoring world where it's that individual. If you don't have a process to replace that individual, it can be a problem. And, we as a business do have people work alongside them. So we hope that transition's a little easier, but it's never going to be perfect. So I think it's important to understand what offshoring is and the challenges that come with that. Also, those individuals sometimes thinking they're worth more than they actually are to a firm, which really led us to build the Podsourcing model, which is a dedicated group of people that work solely for a firm. And I know we're probably somewhere heading towards that with you, Eriona.
Yeah, I'd say
Where
we're
it
already
is that
there.
group of people
I'd say
rather than
we're already there. That's
yeah,
how when we structured our team, we structured it in that way. It just means that if somebody's off or leaves, there's somebody else who can take over, help train, and take on work and replace them.
yeah, 100%. So those are the 3 operational models that we can talk to you about. But it's really important that we understand that not one is going to be right for any individual firm. It's about talking through those options, and we're working on something new, but I can't say anything yet about that. Thank you very much, Eriona, for you taking the time today to share your experiences. Is there any message that you'd want to give to the audience before we close the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing before anybody kind of goes into this world of offshoring and outsourcing is to remember that you're still dealing with human beings. It's not a case of they'll do it and it's going to be perfect. If you want it to work well, you need to be treating those team members as team members, just sitting in a different office. So dedicate time to training them, showing them how you work as a firm, because each firm works differently. And integrating them into your team. And if you're able to do that, it's a much, much smoother, better experience for everyone involved. That's from our experience, just making sure that you do treat them as your team members, not an external team. But other than that, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vipul and Eriona. That was amazing. You both act and talk like you've been hanging out together for years. It's weird when you can see that the chemistry's there when people get along so well. Heaps of good insights in that. Hopefully everyone that's listening and been through this has really picked out some really good tips. I'd love to hear what your tips were. You can put them in the chat, or as said, you can tag me on LinkedIn and say, hey Trent, this is what I learned today during this session. My job now is to help you navigate your way through to the next session. So our 11 a.m. session that are just coming up shortly. First one is about AI. So AI is here now. What? This is going to be a practical, awesome session with Billy McLaughlin. Billy does amazing things in the UK accounting industry, and I was super thankful she volunteered her time to hang out with us today. Check out that session. That's starting at 11 a.m. So AI is here now. What? A practical guide to using AI without losing your edge. So if you're using a few AI tools, particularly things like Microsoft Copilot and a few other bits, that's going to be a great session to come and get a good overview on things you could be applying with your team in your business today. The next session on that, so 2 streams, is with Matt Wilkinson. The session is titled Growth is Good Even If You Don't Want More Clients. So Matt starts to unpack why it's good to continue to be in market and marketing even if you don't want more clients. There's a few good reasons for that. I'm going to let Matt unpack all of it, but you should definitely check that out if you're like, oh, I'm going to turn my marketing off. I don't need to do a lot right now. I'm so full up. But there's other purposes to marketing, things like recruitment and hiring, partnerships, all kinds of things. Depending on what you're in for, I recommend you check out one of those things. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this session. Thank you again, Vipul. And I look forward to seeing you all in our 11 a.m. Let's go.